Well, today we're going to talk about hip pain as well as the most common cause of it, particularly for those people who have hip pain for no obvious reason. You know, if you fall on the ice and you get hip pain because you fell on your hip, it's very obvious. But so many times the hip starts to have gradual onset pain that leads into eventually a hip replacement, which there's over 500,000 hip replacements done every year in the United States.
So in this video, we're going to show you one common cause of hip pain and give you 5 simple exercises to help reduce that pain and lower your risk of needing surgery.
That's right. We're not going to show you how to mask it with ibuprofen or over-the-counter drugs or a hot pack. We are going to actually show you how to fix the problem and what causes it.
Bob and Brad, the 2 most famous physical therapists on the internet.
Welcome to the Bob and Brad channel. We are the most famous physical therapy team on the internet.
In our opinion, of course.
And our goal is to help you stay healthy, fit, and pain-free. And we got Bob's old director hat right here. So.
There you go. We don't only show you how to fix a problem. We educate you on how things work so it lasts forever.
So we're going to talk about an issue called anterior femoral glide syndrome. Now, this was brought to our attention by physical therapist Rick Olderman, who is a friend of ours and co-authored a book with Bob. So we're going to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of that.
That's right. Rick actually not only has written books, but he teaches classes to other therapists on this. This is something that he's very thoroughly investigated and uses with success. Success, sorry. Anyways, here we go. Anterior glide hip syndrome. What is it? Because it's a mouthful. It's very simple. We've got the hip, the ball of the hip right there. Here we go, and the acetabulum or the cup, and on a healthy hip, that's a deep socket. There's a lot of surface area, and it's very stable. A hip that stays like this will last a long time in regards to arthritis. However, if the ball of the femoral head actually moves out of place, in this case, anterior means forward, and you can see no longer is there very much surface area. It's actually rubbing on the front or the anterior edge of the socket as well as the ball, and that can cause problems, really accelerating the arthritis and the pain that goes along with it. So there's a reason why that moves forward, and we've got another term. It's called gluteal amnesia. In other words, the big gluteal maximus in the back starts to get weak and doesn't do its job, allowing the anterior or the forward motion of the hip. So we're going to show you how to correct it and how to fix it so that you can become pain-free and your hip becomes healthy again.
So first what we want to do is kind of stretch or mobilize the hip joint a little bit, and for that we're going to be using a band. You can also use just a standard belt you would wear at home. If you do not have a band, you're just not going to have that play of the band. So we're going to try to use it to get the femoral head back into the socket. Brad will kind of demo quick. Right. Sam here, who unfortunately lost his leg.
So we're using a loop band. Like Mike said, you can use a belt, a larger belt. He'll demonstrate it on himself. I'm going to demonstrate it with Sam so that you get the concept. You put it around your leg, high up near the femoral crease, so it's close to the ball. And then we're here. It's forward, and then you're going to lean forward, which tightens the band, and boop, pulls it back into the socket. So we're getting the mobility to get it where it needs to go. And then after that happens, we need to strengthen the glute muscles, which is not a very difficult exercise. So we'll show you that in detail, but that's the concept. Get it in here, and you're going to have a long-term fix versus it continuing to be out of the socket.
Now you're going to get it up in the groinal crease region here. I oftentimes just hold a couple fingers in there. Otherwise, it kind of likes to slide down, personally. You're going to get a lot of tension. I can't have too much, or I'm going to start pulling the stairs here because I need some more weight on it.
Allow me to help, because most stairs are not sliding.
No. So there, now I got some pressure on it, and I just tend to lunge or lean forward. My back leg stays straight. If this feels good, you'll kind of know that you may have anterior femoral glide syndrome. And just do this. You can do it for 10 reps, or you can hold it just for 30 seconds, depending upon what feels good. Again, when you have a belt, you're going to get to that end range and just feel a pull. It's not going to move at all. And just see if that feels good to get it back in place. Now, after this, it's not just going to magically stay in place if we still have tight hip flexors and gluteal amnesia, meaning our butt cheek is not firing properly. We need to teach those muscles how to relax and how to activate again.
Good. There's two things I want to mention. And one is if you've had a hip replacement, I don't advise doing this. Number two, you can call your doctor and the surgeon and see if there's any precautions that would not allow this motion. The other thing is if it creates pain, particularly sharp pain, do not do it. This should feel good. When you put the pressure on there, going back in, it's going to feel better. If that's the case, feels good while you're doing it, and after you put it down, walk around, it feels good. That's a real positive sign that you're doing exactly the right thing. Then you're going to do this exercise.
So we're just going to do some basic glute pumps. We won't go through the full range of motion. A glute pump is kicking up towards the air and back down like this. What we're going to do is kind of pick somewhere in between. So I'm going to go here and just do little oscillations. You're going to do 30 repetitions total. Break that up however you want, 3 sets of 10, 2 15, all 30 at once. If you're not feeling a whole lot of glute activation, meaning you're not feeling it in your butt cheek, but you're feeling it in your hamstrings further down, try rotating your foot in and then do them. It's going to isolate the glute max a little more. And then you could do this on both sides, but obviously the side that is bothering you is the side you should really focus on. Some people we realize can't get down on their hands and knees, so you can do this standing, leaning over a countertop or something.
Right, and I can demonstrate that. I just want to emphasize, Rick really emphasizes we're not doing full range of motion, not lifting it really high, trying to get all that kind of thing going on. We simply do it in the mid-range, small amplitude or oscillation, but really focusing on getting that glute to fire. Once it starts firing again, you re-educate it, it's going to transfer into your walking. Plus, we've got another trick for walking. Quickly, I'll show the same exercise on a cupboard. Put your hands on the cupboard or a solid piece of furniture. Bend the knee 90 degrees, and then we're going to do it this way. You can go down on your elbows like this. Turn it in this way and work it again. Not those big swings, short little oscillations, 20 to 30 repetitions. You can put your hands on that muscle and feel it work. That can be very effective. It's called biofeedback. Get the muscle contracting by feeling it to know if it actually is.
So that's an exercise you can do each day. The next thing I want to talk about is seeing if your glutes or your butt cheeks are firing while you're walking. To do this, you probably want to do it in your house with no one around because you're going to walk with your hands on your butt. So it might look like you have to go to the bathroom if you're in public. Anyway, put your hands on your buttock, and then we suggest not walking in shoes initially. You can do slippers, socks, barefoot, whatever you have, and just walk how you normally would. So if you're a heel striker, just walk, feel how much activation is going on in your glutes, and then do about 10 feet. Then we want you to switch to doing more of a tiptoe walk. Now I realize you're not going to walk on your tiptoes for the rest of your life, and feel how much more your glutes are activating. If you're getting a lot of activation or similar with heel striking, then you don't have to worry about this. If you're noticing much more glute activation, which I personally do on my tiptoes, then you need to start walking a little bit differently. Now, you're not going to walk on your tiptoes. We'll just do about 10 steps on your tiptoes, and then we'll just switch to walking normally. Notice I'm not heel striking anymore though. I'm walking with a nice bent knee and my glutes are activating. The problem is if you heel strike and your foot goes far out in front of you, your glutes are not engaged, they're not engaged, and then they're finally engaged in this last aspect of the gait pattern, which is not very much. So if you walk with a soft bent knee, I can already feel my glutes firing right here, and my knee isn't even fully over my toe, and I'm not even transitioning the heel up yet.
Right.
So you're going to start walking more with a flat foot pattern, soft knee bend. You're not going to take as big of steps. It'll probably feel a little odd initially, but over time, it'll start to feel more natural.
Right. I just want to add one thing that Rick will say. If you're having a hard time feeling those glutes fire with your palms like this, take your fingertips and push them in the muscle belly part right there, and that makes it a little easier to feel the muscle fibers fire and give you better feedback.
You're going to end up walking probably a little bit slower pace initially. You're going to take more steps versus less steps just because you're taking shorter strides. You're not going to be putting your foot way out in front of you anymore. It's going to be nice and short. So I just think about, it's hard to focus on everything. I just think about my knees are bent when I'm walking. I'm not locking them out straight. So, and it's very uncomfortable to do that without shoes on. So you'll learn how quickly. Now, once you're outside, put your shoes back on. But
I think you'll find, and we've had a number of people, their knee or their hip arthritis pain when they're walking, switch to this walking, and oh, wow, immediately less pain. Then you have the job of training yourself to become a soft knee walker. It's not real easy, but you can do it. It helps the pain. It's good.
Now, tip number 3 or stretch number 3 is actually stretching your hip flexors out. Your hip flexors are deep muscles that flex your hip, meaning it brings your hip towards your chest like this. If they are tight, what can happen is you actually tilt your pelvis, you can have all sorts of issues, but they run very deep. They actually connect to your lower back vertebrae there.
Yep. And they come down, they're kind of underneath your visceral or your abdominal content. So they're harder to stretch. You're not going to be able to massage them because your stomach content
you have to push very hard and lay down. There's special tools for it, and it's rather uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't even go there.
So what you can do to stretch them out, I should say a reason they become tight is because we sit a lot, and if you look, you're just flexed all the time, so you're not straight. So that's a common reason why they get tight on most people. So a simple stretch to do that most people can do no matter their age, lay on the edge of something that's tall enough. If you can get on a countertop or kitchen table, go ahead if you're younger. Otherwise, you can try your bed. Just make sure it's tall enough and it's not too soft where your butt's going to fall off the side. You may have to put some pillows underneath you or a pad of sorts to make sure you don't fall off. All you're going to do is drop one leg down and then bend the knee back, bring the opposite knee up to your chest, and you're gonna see if you're really tight, you might be way up here, not even level with the bed. If you can get even or flat or beyond that, you're probably fine. Your hip flexors aren't tight, but you're just gonna stretch like this for about 30 seconds, breathe in and out, try to relax. After you do one side, reset, and then switch to the other side. Again, you might notice one side being tighter than the other. You may get little hamstring cramps, which I kind of am right now, my right leg, so I'm just going to stretch it out a little bit and then go back into it. Again, make sure to keep your leg in a straight line when you bend it. Don't let it veer off to the side like that.
Yeah, just one point, when you bring the heel underneath, you're probably going to feel an additional stretch. That is a separate hip flexor muscle that oftentimes gets neglected, and you'll feel that when you pull that under. So do that, as tolerated. It's going to be a little uncomfortable if you haven't done that.
Yeah, and it's called the rectus femoris. If you really
there you
know
go, the old rectus femoris.
The next two are just a couple hip stretches or exercises you can try on your own. Figure 4. We could do this laying down or seated in a chair. Right.
This is one exercise that you can do throughout the day without changing anything or changing your lifestyle. When you put your shoes on is an ideal. Shoes or socks and you're sitting. You bring your foot up to here. That's hip rotation. And then let the knee go down. If you're way up here, you're getting pretty tight. Relax and spend 15, 20 seconds on stretching that hip out. Then put your socks on, put your shoes on. In the long run, it's going to help your mobility so that getting dressed as you age continues to be easy. You can do it in bed.
Yeah, if you're older, some people I've had, they have to start with their legs straight, and all they do is let their leg go out to the side because that's all they can really do. Eventually, try to work up to their shin, let it rotate out to the side. They might be stuck up here if you're tight. Over time, try to bring your ankle up your leg more, and then once it becomes easy, you can bend your knee, and then you can get a lot more aggressive with it by pushing down or pulling this leg up, depending upon how much flexibility you have. It's going to take time if you are really tight to get this. It's not going to happen in a day. It might take a few weeks or a couple months even. So just take your time.
Yeah, and if they're not tight, I think you should do it anyways as a maintenance exercise so they don't get tight, particularly if you're over 50. Should we talk about a little traction pendulum exercise?
Sure.
go to a step over here. Go to a step of some, as Mike says, of sorts.
Of sorts, a step of sorts.
So shoes on, shoes off, doesn't matter. I'm going to give this hip some traction to actually gap. So if you have arthritis, pain in that hip when you walk and with weight bearing, this can be really helpful and give you some relief. You relax. The key to this is relaxing all the muscles on the involved or this side in the right leg. Get it to relax and just swing it back and forth. The joint opens up because the weight of the leg is pulling. That allows synovial fluid to get into the joint, which is the lubrication and can be helpful for that decreased pain and better function of that hip. You can do it this way, you can go this way and go like this. It's a little harder for me to relax this way, but you'll get it with time. So, if you have ankle weight that you can put around here. This is a Velcro one, 3 pound. I've had people, here in Minnesota and Wisconsin, get your winter boots out. They're usually a couple pounds. Put that on it so you don't have to go out and buy one of those if you don't want to, and just swing with that boot on or whatever. Maybe steel toes, there you go.
Steel toes.
Now they're kind of Kevlar, the steel toes, so they're not as heavy.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Can't say I've ever worn them, but good to know. Anyway, those are the 5 exercises as well as the band stretch. So try them all out. See which ones feel good to you. You may not need to do all of them if some of them seem easy, but at least give them all a shot and just stick to it over time and see if it helps your hip pain.
Yeah, but there's one thing we've got to clear up here. Get your foot up once.
Those are very cute.
Look at those cute toes. Yeah, this is very nice. See, he's got toe socks. Yeah. Can you spread your toes out? Look at that. If you can spread your toes out and get gaps in there, that's a really good sign of a healthy foot. I'm not able to do it because I've been scrunching my feet up for too long. But
this little piggy went to market.
Yeah. But no.
Little piggy went home.
Yeah. It's a really good sign if you can make those toes move.
I'm disturbed by the piggy that ate roast beef.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's get off. We're getting off the subject now.
If you want to check out more videos on hip pain, click the video link on the screen. 5 hip pain tips, no meds, no workout.
There you go. Enjoy. Keep those hips moving, healthy, and pain-free.
And play with your piggy toes.
Bob and Brad, the 2 most famous physical therapists on the internet.